Hello, everyone, and welcome to Courage to Create a Career Where You Thrive. So, the next three live sessions, you will learn how to find courage and thrive. And these are some of the steps that I have taken over the past however many years, and the steps that I guide my clients, would that be through one-to-one coaching, group coaching, or work in teams and working with leaders and in training through. So thank you so much for coming. Really excited to see you. So wanted to start with this quote from the wonderful Brené Brown, who says, "Courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen." So simple, but yet quite scary. And really, this first session today is not necessarily about showing up how we show up for other people, how we find courage to speak up or do a presentation or do a webinar. Today is all about showing up for ourselves and really letting ourselves be seen, letting ourselves see ourselves. And often we don't give ourselves that permission to truly understand ourselves, to recognize who we are, what our strengths are, what our values are, and also what might be holding us back. So this is your opportunity to really take that time. So see it as a gift. I'd really encourage you to turn off notifications, distractions, whatever might be going on around you on probably what is a very busy day and a busy week in the run up to Christmas. But just give yourself the permission to really give yourself the time over the next hour or so. So over the three sessions, we will be walking through three steps. So today we're going to open up. So this is how to open up to our fears, our limiting stories, or our limiting assumptions. And we're not going to try to solve that today. I'm going to kind of leave you hanging a little bit, and I hope that's okay, because I want you to sit comfortably and start to notice over the next few days before Tuesday when we show up. And that is where we think about how we can get curious about what maybe our limiting stories might be telling us, what our emotions are telling us, what do we notice when we have to do a presentation or we have to have a difficult conversation. Am I recording? I'm just suddenly, yes, I am. Yes, thanks, Kerry. Just suddenly had like a massive panic attack. Oh dear. There we are. I've got what I was saying. I'm talking about showing up. And then the final bit, which is the curiosity, how we can overcome, the show up is about how we can overcome the limits that we might have and come up with a new alternative truth. And then the final step, the step up, is when we take action. It's when we maybe take that small step. So Tara Moore, in her book Playing Big, talks about taking a leap, and she describes it as a leap, but really is a small first step that will have a huge amount of impact. So that's what to expect over the three sessions. Just to quickly introduce myself, my name is Emily. If you don't know me, it's lovely to see you, and thank you for trusting me over these three sessions. My background is in the charity sector. I've been a fundraiser, or I started in fundraising back in 1998. I've given up saying how many years. I should just say the date, which then starts to make me feel very old. But 5 years ago, I left a senior leadership role in the charity sector in fundraising. I actually decided to become a fundraising consultant at first, but the more I did consultancy work and the more I lent into some of the work that I'm going to share with you today, the more I realized that I had a strength really around coaching, around empowering people, particularly women, to grow in their leadership and in their personal development and their career growth. And so at the beginning of the pandemic, I trained to become a coach, and I pivoted my business. And now I support individuals through one-to-one coaching, I work with groups, so I run group coaching programs, so empowering women to work together over a period of time to grow in their life and their career. And then I work in teams, so whether that be a team building day, delivering training, or journeying with a group of leaders over a period of time. And I suppose I've experienced lack of courage, I've experienced fear, I've experienced being stuck in my career, being frustrated and not really knowing where to go and how to progress those feelings of being a failure. I've experienced stepping up into a senior leadership role that really wasn't right for me. I took the role because I thought that it was the right thing to do, because that would help my career go in the sort of traditional ladder direction. I learned from that experience to actually trust my instinct, not what people say would be the right thing for me, but start to lean into my knowledge of myself and my understanding myself to help guide actually the choices that I make in my career. And being really intentional about doing things every day that I love, and having an impact while doing that. So I love doing this. I love sharing with other women. I love sharing, I love creating spaces where groups of staff, leaders, teams can think and grow together. So that's me. You're all introducing yourselves in the chat. That's wonderful. And just to reiterate again, you're very welcome. So over the past year or so, I've been delving much more deeply into the work of a lady called Nancy Kline. Her book, her original book is called Time to Think. And she says this: the quality of everything human beings do, everything, depends on the quality of the thinking we do first. So when you think about your day, your week, your work, how much time do you spend thinking? When are you given permission to think? And when you think about a meeting, you walk into the meeting, maybe the loudest person, the most confident person, the highest paid person is the person doing all of the speaking. Often an extroverted person, because they are thinking externally, rather than an introverted person who personality type who might need to process internally. And we move from agenda item to agenda item. We're probably in meetings now on Teams where we're checking our emails, we're checking our WhatsApp, we've got notifications coming in, we're probably multitasking. And what is happening is we're not giving ourselves attention, we're not giving ourselves to process information, our ideas and our thoughts, and we are not giving those around us permission to do that, partly because we're not listening, and also we're just not giving ourselves permission to do that. So it's a broader body of work that she does, but I wanted to start with that because I draw a lot of my thinking from that work of Nancy Kline. And she started with this question: how do we help people to think for themselves with rigor, imagination, courage, and grace? And what I want to say to you is that maybe you're on this training or this course or this webinar because you want me to tell you what your next step is in your life and your career, that maybe I've got some kind of magic answer. I haven't got that answer. The answer would be very bespoke anyway to each of your circumstances. What I have got is an encouragement to you to say that you do have the answer. You know the answer and you know the next steps. What you need is the space to think. You need the permission to delve deeper, to be given the questions that will help you unlock your journey. And really, that's what I want to do today. And so if there's a wider output, sorry, bin man is coming past. If there's a wider output from this training, also it's thinking about how you could support others to think as well. But that's a whole another story. So there are 3 states that you might be in. They're certainly kind of what I've been talking about on social media. So maybe one of these resonated for you. And I resonate with all 3 at various times in my career. So you might be feeling stuck and frustrated. Maybe you're in a role And maybe it's kind of the level or the type of role that you want, but it's not actually quite the right job for you, or maybe you know that you want to step up in your career, but you don't have the confidence to make that step and to take that move. Maybe you have stretched yourself out of your comfort zone and you've taken that job, and you sort of suddenly feel like an imposter, that you've bitten off more than you can chew. You're trying to prove yourself all of the time and you're getting overwhelmed and exhausted. Or you might have faced a setback or a step back. So a setback could be a failure. So something has gone wrong. You have had a failure, and that's caused you either to lose confidence in your current position, or you might have had to leave a role and take a sidestep. Or you might have had to take some time out for caring responsibilities, or through ill health. Or taken a little squiggle in your career, and actually you're finding confidence to grow back into where you know you want to be. So do share in the chat where you are right now. I will read some of those out, but I won't associate names to them, so that you can share. Oh, someone's got snow. Sorry, I'm just reading the welcome messages. Yeah, so do just share where you are, which of those resonates, or maybe if there's another kind of reason why you are here. So we've got a combination of 1 and 3, 2. Can resonate with all 3. I'm feeling stuck, frustrated. I want to get paid my worth for a job that allows me to express my creativity. I know that it's time for me to leave my job. Yeah, and it's just finding that confidence to take that step and to know when the right step is. And actually, particularly if you want to move roles, having the confidence to make the move is almost is the hardest part. And actually trying to make a move when you're in low level of confidence can be quite challenging. I had a big setback personally last year. I had to take a 9-year step back in my career, trying to decide whether I want to step back up. Yeah, so that could even be an option. And it's actually, do I want to kind of go back up on this career ladder, or actually do I want some balance? Is working part-time right for me? Is spending some time doing voluntary work important for me, or is a side hustle important? I really believe there's no kind of right or wrong. It's really leaning into what matters for you. In Cumbria and feeling stuck. It's snowy, sunny but snowy. Oh, jealous. Yet another setback. And I don't feel more adaptive and resilient given I've been here before. Yeah, I think often being back there is hard. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, capable of more than my current level, but need flexibility. So that's always a balance. It's a balance, particularly for parents, or if you've got caring responsibilities. Yeah, step back, someone that I line manage. Yeah, stuck and frustrated. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for sharing. I hope that, if at the very least, that just shows that you are not alone. And particularly if you're also watching on the replay, you are not alone. I've still got a massive panic attack about whether I'm recorded or not, because I can't, for some reason I can't see it. Yes, it says stop recording. So to reiterate just what I was just sharing just now, the truth is we are ambitious. So the Women in the Workplace report, which is a really valuable report that I think it's run by Lean In, I think, and they draw on worldwide data, and they say roughly 80% of women want to be promoted to the next level. And so, to say it's not wrong to want to be promoted, and equally I don't think it's wrong to want to stay where you are, I think for me, it's about defining what your personal ambition looks like. And then sitting comfortably with that, because I think we are given so many messages that reinforce the idea that we aren't good enough, and that we're not achieving enough. I'm in the world of coaching. As soon as you declare that you're a coach, you get these messages on social media from these people who are trying to make huge amounts of money off me, to say that I should be earning a 6-figure salary, I should be earning, my business should be worth £1 million, I should be having hundreds of people on my courses. And then I thought, well, actually, I don't want that, because I want to get to know every member of my course, and I enjoy one-to-one coaching. I don't want to just create a digital machine so that I can sit on the beach and have money dropping into my bank account. You know, that isn't what ambition or success looks like for me. Success looks like, for me, success looks like working with a few amazing women, journeying with them over a period of time and seeing impact in their lives. So that's how I would define success. So let's hear, sorry, I'm going backwards now. Let's hear what you, where you want to be, I suppose, where you would define success. How are we doing for time? I'll stop recording and just see if anyone wants to share. Resume the recording. So thank you, everybody, for sharing where you want to be. And for those of you on the recording, just take some time really to identify where you want to be. And some people on the live didn't know where they want to be and are not sure about that. And I think even recognizing and acknowledging that is part of this process. So if you don't know where you're heading or what that looks like for you, that's absolutely okay. And that might actually involve just sitting with some emotions and some thoughts. So my hope for you is that now you might be feeling a little bit of fear, worry, overwhelm, maybe comparison, self-doubt, imposter feelings, maybe lack of clarity and feeling stuck. My desire for you after these 3 sessions would be that you are walking in self-acceptance, calm, you've got tools to navigate challenges and get clarity, that you're showing up for yourself, you're setting boundaries and owning your power. That is my desire for you, and you might define that in your own words as well. Got another one just coming up on the chat, to be working part-time and being able to express my creativity. Yeah, expressing your creativity, your skills. Sometimes our roles that we're in don't allow that to happen for us. So there are myths of the path to the mythical career success, lots of myths, that if we work harder, maybe we will get that next step that we want to get to. Maybe we'll have all the answers. That concept that we've always got to be going up and it's sort of not appropriate to go down or sideways or even not know where we're going. You might feel that in order to take that next step, if you're ready to take that next step, you need to have the exact experience. I know that many people feel that, in order to lead or to step up in a senior role, you need to perhaps be loud or to speak up or to be the one doing all of the talking, and maybe not to ask for help, like we've got to just do it all ourselves. So do share any myths that you, so I'm going ahead, I think I asked this as a question. So what career or success myths are you holding on to personally? What career or success myths are you holding on to personally? Do share those in the chat. Oh, that's really interesting. You seem confident. You are confident and don't have any needs. Yes, yeah. So I'm completely self-sufficient. And actually many people who externally seem confident, internally might well not be. But going up the ladder, need to know it all, needing to tick every box in a role spec, yes, is definitely something that resonates with me. Yeah, there's that I think it's unsubstantiated, but apparently that women struggle to are less likely to apply for jobs if they don't tick all the boxes. Oh, that's a money one. Yeah, really interesting. Money blocks can be really powerful in hindering us. So because I didn't come from a family with money, I will never be able to make a lot of money. I'm not knowledgeable enough. Getting paid for creativity is rare and hard to achieve. Yeah, that's a sort of, these are sort of yeah, these are limiting assumptions really, that that actually you can't achieve the things that you want to achieve. Needing to have all the answers, feel like I need to be a complete expert before speaking up, and that's a really common one. Got lots of thumbs up there. At times I think I'm the only one who can fix everything. Yeah, I think often when if you're in a leadership role or have other responsibilities, we become that fixer and we jump in with the solutions all too quickly, and that's exhausting and it's probably limiting you. So perhaps thinking about those boundaries, which we'll start to talk about in the third session, might be important, but also just noticing when we're doing this noticing exercise, which we're about to get into, noticing when you're jumping in too quickly to say yes or to help out or to fix somebody is probably a great first step. I can't ask for help without showing that I'm not good enough at my job. Yeah, so if you ask for help, it's a sign of failure or weakness. So we sort of suffer in silence. So I'm sure thank you for sharing in the chat. Do just write down any of those myths. So you might have many. Do keep sharing them in the chat because it's really valuable for people to see those, but equally just write down what those success myths that you might be holding on to are, because we're going to be kind and notice them. And the most important thing, again, I'll reiterate, is notice that other people are feeling many of these that you might be feeling as well. So I saw a lot of resonance between what you were all sharing just now. So I'm sure you're all familiar with the concept of imposter syndrome. I do some work for a lady called Carla Miller, and she rephrases that around imposter feelings, which I equally prefer, because the idea of having a syndrome is not very helpful, but it's to recognize that we all have feelings or thoughts which effectively are these career myths that can come in, or they could be things that have happened in our life that reinforce. So someone mentioned about money. That's a life experience, an experience that you've had in your life that is reinforcing a limiting belief or a limiting story, and that can also be associated with emotions. So a KPMG study finds that 75% of female executives across industries have experienced imposter syndrome in their careers, which is a feeling of inadequacy and self-doubt that makes them continuously doubt if they're qualified enough for their job. So it's the concept that we may then take some action and do things to overcompensate for how we are feeling. So some of the signs, I suppose, of being or feeling like an imposter, feeling like you're not able to move to the next step, or feeling that you're at that step and should not be there, you're not qualified to be there. You might find yourself preparing, making sure, I think some people mentioned that in the chat, making sure you've ticked all of the boxes, those feelings of self-doubt, am I good enough? You haven't worked hard enough, whatever that might be. You might get some positive feedback, but you dismiss that feedback because you say, oh, no, they just like me, or they're just trying to be kind, because actually I was rubbish and they're not very good at giving feedback. We might be in a state of self-sabotage, or might say that we got lucky. That's that sense of sort of being found out. Someone will work out that I shouldn't actually be here. And I know I felt that really keenly when I stepped up into a senior fundraising role. I really did believe that they were absolutely rubbish at recruitment, and they'd made a complete mistake and no one else applied for the job, and they were just desperate. For a number of years, I believed that, which wasn't very helpful, and it held me back, quite frankly. So one of the challenges that we want to overcome is, or one of the things we need to recognise is that many of our limiting, I'm going to sort of say them in three ways. We could call it limiting stories, limiting beliefs, or I prefer the term limiting assumptions, come from. Ooh, Georgina, would you be all right to just put yourself on mute? Thank you. Come from the part of our brain which is trying to protect us. So Professor Stephen Peters calls this our chimp brain, or it's called the limbic brain. I always forget whether it's the left or the right side of the brain. But basically, this is the reactive side of the brain. So this is the side of the brain that responds when we are in danger. So our ancestors, when there was a saber-toothed tiger at the door of the cave, this part of the brain said either run away, take flight, either fight this saber-toothed tiger or freeze. There's also fawn and maybe even one more. So this part of our brain, this limbic or chimp side of our brain, is really, really reactive. And then we've got another side of our brain, which is our thinking brain, which relies on logic but it's much, much slower to process. It's not quick enough to process danger and challenges when we face them. And both these sides of the brain feed the computer in our brain, which basically records the data based on past experiences. So you might do a presentation and it might be a complete car crash and go really wrong, and you might get bad feedback. And the chimp side of the brain says, help, that's a very, very dangerous situation to be in, and it records that into your computer. And what we want to do is try to rewire your computer with a more logical response. And the way we do that is to notice and to slow ourselves down. But before that, I just wanted to ask, so sometimes when we go into responsive mode, we might literally run away from the situation. So you might have experiences where you maybe have just like left the job or left the meeting, have gone completely quiet. Sometimes, often when we're really pushed, we will move into fight mode. So that might be when we not necessarily just sort of get angry in a meeting, but it might be when we know that we want to try to prove ourselves. So we work harder and harder. I'd say that's fight mode because we're overacting to compensate for our brain saying you're in danger, you're in danger. So I'm going to work harder. I'm going to do longer hours. I'm going to keep going at it. And then freeze is sort of the classic procrastination scenario where we kind of stop dead. So maybe if you're kind of feeling stuck, that might be that your reaction is more in freeze mode. So I'm going to give you opportunity to share, like, where is your natural response when you feel that rush of adrenaline, that fear, that kind of panic mode? Where do you naturally go to? And we might go to more areas than just one. Just checking the chat. So it's a big one for you. I need to, just going back to a little bit on the chat, I need to be likable. If I don't succeed, I don't know whether I'm going to see that my screen's gone funny. Oh, that's gone. If I don't succeed, or I don't get invited to join initiatives, that people don't like me. Yeah, so associating that recognition with being liked. So we've got a fawn. So yes, the fawn is when you shut down completely. I resonate with the fight and working extra hard to try to compensate. Got a few fighters. Fight, defensive. You get defensive of, you know, my team. Often you might be defensive on your team's behalf, or on behalf of what you're trying to achieve, and you sort of dig your heels in conversations that can be a challenge. My computer keeps saying no at the moment. I feel like I'm in constant fight mode, and that's having an impact emotionally. Yeah. Yes, also shut down and people please too. Shut down and escape, freeze, bury my head, overanalyze and personalize. Yeah, so we move into that overthinking it, and over processing. So we've answered that question. So one thing I also wanted to talk to is our ego. So it's sort of another way to look at it, but I found it really helpful to think about our ego being the fact that, in a way, our chimp brain is being fed by this external validation, or even our internal validation. So what we think about ourselves. So that might be comparison, or competition, or fear. And even when we do succeed, we put it down to perhaps lack or luck, or lack, could be lack, or others' work. So, you know, it might be a team-based thing. And the trouble is when we're relying on our ego, you know, when something goes well, and we've all had those days when you have a great day at work, or you have a win and you just feel great about yourself. And then the next day, someone might say something, or you make a mistake, something goes wrong, because everything does. You drop one of those balls, not everything does, some things do. You drop one of those balls that you're juggling, as you're juggling too many. And then you go right back down into that sense of failure. And really what we want to be is in a much calmer state, where we're not relying on our ego for validation. We're relying on a sense of self-acceptance. So feeling that it's okay to like make a mistake. So, you know, today I sent the email for this session, and it said an hour to go, and it was at 11 o'clock, and that's confusing and not very helpful. You know, that's a mistake. So okay, that's okay, that happens. And if I'm running a webinar like this, then there's bound to be at least one thing that goes wrong every time. And now I'm like, okay, I just got to stop and breathe and accept that might happen. I don't attach that to my self-worth. If I was trying to attach that to my self-worth, you know, I would have had to work even harder to make this a success, and might have exhausted myself and got so sort of wound up and worried about it that I wasn't calm when I came into presenting, and therefore I might not do as good a job as I'd like to. So let me just quickly check the chat and check the time. So yeah, I think we all have a bit of a mix, don't we? I fit between fight, get determined and throw more hours in, or freeze, full on queen of procrastination. I feel you. I have entire days of just filing emails into folders, and then fit a week's worth of work onto a Friday. Yeah, I'm a very much a Monday person, where I'm like full on and then stop, the opposite way around. So I think we need to just recognize and be super kind to ourselves. That I know that there are some amazing women inside this session, both live and recorded, who are going to go on a journey, and that journey might have some detours. So I love this quote from a lady called Grace Marshall. She's written a book called Struggle, highly recommend it. And she says, "Success is a labyrinth. Detours, dead ends, doorways, discoveries. We find our way, we lose our way. Along the way, we discover guardians, teachers, tricksters, allies, mysterious keys, and potent powers. And I just love that writing. So I often share this quote if you've been on any of my sessions before. But the idea that the journey, like the quest, if you're into Lord of the Rings, that quest and that journey is part of success. And we might have those kind of moments in the dark dungeons or the what do you call them, caverns or whatever, but on the way we learn, but also it's sometimes the challenging moments are the bits that define us, and being kind to ourselves when things aren't going as well as we had hoped. Also, the classic of remembering that what you see on the outside, what you see on social media is never really the truth, particularly even with the most successful people. So thank you. I'm glad this quote resonates. This resonates me. I'm 30 and have been in the charity sector for nearly 10 years, but it can be confusing to know what comes next. Keep rooting myself that I have another 40 years in the workplace and I don't need to rush. I've got time to figure out my next steps. Yes, 100% you have time. You definitely have time. And it's really about being in the moment, making today count, enjoying today, finding a way to have impact every day. So we've started to uncover some of the stories through looking at the myths. So just want to give you a moment really to write down what your stories and limiting assumptions are, the things that are holding you back. They're things that might be putting you into fight mode or flight mode, the things that are stopping you from taking that next step, or even believing that it's okay to rest, it's okay to go part-time, someone's talking about their creativity, that it is possible I'm jumping ahead. So say that whoever it was that was talking about creativity, a limiting belief or a limiting assumption might be that it's not possible to earn money using creativity, for example. So just give you a moment to write down any of the stories or assumptions that might be holding you back, that might be stopping you from getting to where you want to get to, or even getting clarity on where you want to get to. So just take a moment to write those down. If you want to share them in the chat, please do, again, just because it's really valuable for other people to see. So I'll just give you a moment to do that. Thank you. I hold myself back by thinking that I pigeonhole myself into the charity sector and therefore moving into other industries will be really hard, when in reality, I know I have a ton of transferable skills. Yeah, other industries will be really blessed to have you and your experience. I feel the same about the NHS. Interesting. Yeah, probably that I'm not good enough, which is ridiculous. Yeah, I can't keep reinventing myself. Thank you. These are the things that we hold as true. And really what we want to do is just notice. I'll be bullied again. Oh, I'm sorry, Sam. Grass isn't always greener. It's hard. Yeah, that you'll go from one nasty situation to another. Thank you. be successful, I need to know everything to be the expert. Grass is greener where you water it. Yeah. Why aren't I smart as I want to be? It's timely, I'm 55 and my smart, I mean EQ more than IQ. Yeah. Great trajectory must be a straight line. Yeah, I had a coaching session on whatever day it was this week, and my coach appreciated me at the end, and said I was intelligent. And for me, that's a real limiting assumption, my level of intelligence, because of my education and what was told to me as a child. And I know that it's like wasn't new, but it really hits me when someone says you're intelligent. And actually, yeah, EQ is always going to be the best. Thank you, everybody. So take a moment to really listen to those, and after this session in the workbook, you can write down as many limiting thoughts that you have. And what I want you to do is just notice over the next few days when those limiting thoughts come up. So it might be you look at someone on social media who's just got a new shiny new job, or you are about to go into a meeting and you feel that you're not confident speaking up, and you hear those stories, that anyone who's freelance or runs their own business, you're kind of worried about whether you're going to get any income in the next quarter, that kind of the not good enough feelings. Just notice them, and what we're going to do now is just move into some exercises to help you to create space to notice and accept. So as I say, I'm going to leave you slightly hanging because we're going to work to solving those and working through those in the next 2 sessions. This is about the noticing and the sitting with them. So this is the next step. Sorry about the cheesy photo. It's about opening up the process of observing and noticing. Sarah, my limiting beliefs, my photo's rubbish, or naff or something, I don't know. It's an opportunity to give our thoughts and emotions space. So remembering our thoughts and our emotions are connected. So when you wrote some of those things down and shared those really honestly in the chat, so I appreciate that. An emotion might have been attached to that. So remember, these emotions are triggering for our chimp brain, which is going to start running away, fighting or flighting or freezing or fawning. And what we do with the emotion is, if we feel fear, if we feel anger, if we feel frustration, we try to immediately squash it and get rid of it and solve that problem by reacting in one of those ways. And what we want to do is start to notice those thoughts and notice those emotions and give them space so that we can calm ourselves and come to a state where we can not react but respond. So I'm coming to some top tips now. So hopefully you've had some sort of time to sort of just think through some of those thoughts, but please do keep journaling those over the next few days. So my tip number 1 is to breathe. I know it sounds ridiculous. We are all breathing all of the time. But a lady called Jill Bolt Taylor wrote a book called My Stroke of Insight. And she was a neurologist or a neuroscientist, and she had a stroke at quite a young age, I think in her 30s, and identified that it takes 90 seconds for our parasympathetic nervous system to calm down after a state where we are facing a threat. So where that chimp brain has kicked in, it takes 90 seconds to calm down. And the way that we can do that calming down is to breathe. Not breathe like maybe I've been breathing while I've been sharing, but to really calm our nervous system down, and to do some really deep breathing. So if you have done mindfulness or meditation or yoga, for example, all of those are amazing ways to calm your nervous system. I also know many people don't get on with yoga or meditation. I certainly find meditation very, very difficult. I find it very difficult to sort of be in that state, but I just focus on breathing, both kind of when I'm in a meeting and I'm about to try to speak and I can feel the rush of blood to my face. Just focusing on deepening my breathing really helps. I was in a situation where I was crossing the road and a bike almost hit me, and the bike rider shouted at me. And I can really, because I've become more aware of this, I can really notice that adrenaline run into my body, and I started walking down the road. Stupid, right? Why didn't? And then I thought, oh, this is a really good opportunity to stop and to breathe, and give myself that 90 seconds. So an exercise we're just going to do now is to breathe, but I want it to be more of an exercise about giving the emotion or the feeling or the thought space. So I'm just going to check the chat, and then we're going to do this breathing exercise. Oh yes, LinkedIn is full of people that are better than you. Oh yes. Yeah, I've had to sort of very deliberately unfollow some people on social media. I'm doing meditation, and I've tried different forms. Samantha meditation, I don't know that. Helpful to have the word breathe on a post-it note. Wonderful. So we're just going to do a little exercise now. So I just want you to just ground yourself. So make sure you just pop your feet on the ground if you can. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. And we're just going to do a short breathing exercise. So just want to take a deep breath in through your nose. And when you're ready, breathe out through your nose. And as you're breathing, just notice your feet on the ground, maybe your arms or your hands where they're placed, where your body is connecting to your chair or to the ground. Breathe in and breathe out. As you breathe in, just really try to fill your lungs right to the bottom of your lungs and expand your rib cage as you breathe in. And as you find a rhythm to your breathing, I want you to bring to mind a thought or a feeling that is holding you back, from finding courage. And as you breathe, just do a body scan. So start at the top of your head, look down through your jaw, your mouth and your tongue to your neck. Work your way down your spine, your chest, your throat, and your stomach, and into your legs and down to your feet. And as you scan, find a place where you might be holding that emotion or your thought, where you might be holding that tension. Might be where you're feeling, where you notice a feeling in your body, where you notice you feel tension or pain or discomfort in your body. And I want you to stop in that place and breathe in. And breathe out. And in that place, what we want to do is, rather than trying to squash or squeeze or remove that thought or that feeling, we want to, as we breathe in, almost imagine a balloon blowing up around that thought or that feeling or emotion. So you're actually creating more space for it to be. So rather than restricting it and tightening and tensing, you're creating more space for that feeling to be, or that thought to be. See how big you can make that balloon around that thought. Wherever you're holding that. For me, I hold that in my throat and in my chest, in your stomach, or in a space between your eyes, in your head, or in your jaw. Just create space for that thought or for that feeling. Just blow that up as you breathe in. And then let it go. Just take a couple more rounds of breaths. When you're ready, you can open your eyes, maybe wiggle your fingers and your toes and come back into the room. So that's my first tip for you. I know you all know how to breathe, but I have found that exercise to be really powerful when I know that I feel that tension. And as I say, this part is all about noticing. It's noticing where we feel that tension. It's noticing the stories, it's noticing the feelings, and not trying to remove them or suppress them, but trying to give them some space. And then the second most powerful way that I know to start noticing is to journal and reflect. So even just 10 minutes a day can be really, really powerful to help you build your self-awareness, emotional agility, and self-acceptance. So in the workbook today, the workbook next week, I'll be giving you loads and loads of reflection questions. And I'll be giving you a process to basically work through those limiting assumptions that you have shared. And find a new liberating alternative. So one thing that you can do when journaling is notice those things and work through them when I've given you those at the end of this, the 3 sessions. For now, I'd love for you to just notice. I notice that I'm having the thought that I'm not good enough. I notice that I'm having the thought that whatever it is, because what you want to do is remove yourself from the thought and the feeling. So I'm not showing the work on this, but you can create a persona for your imposter. And the idea about creating a persona for your imposter is to remove the imposter from you. So all of these thoughts and these feelings, they aren't you. They are this chimp brain that's trying to protect you. But it isn't actually the truth. So by just journaling and noticing, it is really, really powerful. And just observe with curiosity and kindness. So you might naturally find yourself asking reflective questions. What's gone well today? What am I grateful for? What am I learning? What did I notice? Those sorts of questions can be really, really powerful in journaling. So whether you like to do it at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day, just grab a notebook, and I really encourage you to do that. If you're not a great writer, I'm in a mastermind group, and one of the ladies in my group, she has a very, very small notebook and likes to just sort of write an affirmation or find an affirmation and write that down. So I don't want to be prescriptive about how you do this, but the act of reflecting and journaling is really, really powerful. And this is where you're giving yourself permission to think. You're giving yourself space to think. And it's in that process that you'll start to see that you do have the answers to some of the challenges that you feel that you might be facing. So that's that phrase, I notice that I'm having the thought that. So when that thought comes into your head, breathe, give it space, blow up your balloon, and then just say, I notice I'm having the thought that I'm not good enough. I notice I'm having the thought that Jane is so much more successful than me, and will I ever get the job of blah, blah, blah. So you want to just be that gentle, kind, compassionate observer. I'm glad, Donya, I'm glad that was helpful. And then finally, another tool, which is, I suppose, more a practical one that I wanted to share, was the wheel of life, or the satisfaction wheel. So if you're like unsure, particularly if you're a couple of people are kind of unsure where they want to go, where they want to be, what does that look like? A really helpful tool is to identify how many areas we've got. We've got 8 areas. So for ease of dividing it, maybe 8 areas of your life. So that could be family, friends, money, health, your career, business, what else? Creativity, spirituality, maybe your leisure, hobbies. So identify 8 areas that you feel that you want to focus on in your life, and then ask, how satisfied are you? So not necessarily kind of judging where you should be, but actually how satisfied are you, and where do you want to increase that satisfaction? And again, just use it as an exercise to observe, because actually a lot of this stuff around ambition and career growth, it makes an assumption that we're working all of the hours, that we don't have a family, that we don't have a life, that we don't have other responsibilities, and actually to think about what really matters in your life. Where are your gifts? Where are your skills? Over the next week, just imagine, think of the moments, or journal in your 10 minutes of journaling every day. When are the moments where you just feel that joy and satisfaction? Because I think a huge amount of career development and career growth comes from spending time when we are either using our strengths and our skills, but also when we're energized. So you might be spending time in your social life with people who drain you and de-energize you, or your colleagues might be draining you, or commuting into London might be draining you, or working from home might be draining you. So noticing what energizes you and what drains you. Again, we're just being curious at the moment. So over the next few days, walk with that curiosity and with that kindness and compassion, because then we'll move on to thinking about, actually, where do you need to make a shift? What do you need to change when you've uncovered those limiting assumptions? What might be different as you think about what balance and success really looks like for you in your life and in your career? So that's the third tool, 3 tips that I am sharing for you today. So the first is to breathe. The second is to journal and reflect and to notice. And then the third is to use that wheel of life as a way to monitor your satisfaction and think about where you want to grow in your life and in your career. So a question for you to reflect on is, what is a kind, gentle and compassionate response to your wheel of life? Remembering that wherever you are right now is where you are. There's no right, there is no wrong. I can't remember who said that, you've got time. And we have seasons. I've been reading Wintering by Catherine May. And I think recognizing that if you are in a winter, if you are in a slower season, that's not wrong. That's okay to be in that season. And often when we step into that season, that's okay. So for example, for me, my children are leaving home, and you might think, oh gosh, I've got loads of capacity to volunteer and start doing all these amazing things. Actually, I'm making a really conscious decision to sort of almost not hibernate, but winter a little bit and set some really clear boundaries after 20 years of sort of running around doing school runs and school stuff and career growth and all of that. And actually now think, okay, I've got a bit of freedom, I've got a bit of time to do what I want for myself, and I'm choosing not to feel guilty about that, because I know that won't be forever. It might just be a year, 2 years, I don't know, but I'm going to choose to be compassionate and kind to myself, so that I can do the things that I love in this moment in time. So do share in the chat if you have a compassionate or kind response, or it might be something you want to reflect on for a little longer. So just reiterate that where I want you to be before courage, where I don't want you to be, where you may have been before courage, and where I want you to be, where I'm hoping that you'll get to after these 3 sessions. So hopefully by the end of today, you're feeling calm, you are noticing, you're realizing that you're not alone, and you are walking with some kindness and compassion. We'll start to set our boundaries and take action, and challenge those limiting stories when we meet next Tuesday. So, brilliant psychologist, lady called Susan David. If you don't follow her, do follow her. She says courage is fear walking. And even the steps that you've taken today, just sharing, acknowledging, noticing, you are already taking that fear, and that you are walking in courage. So I'm going to share my free gift, and you notice there's Abby and Claire on the picture. I am offering you, for coming here live today, an opportunity to join a thinking session on Wednesday, the 13th of December at, I can't remember what time I put, I'd better be right with that, 1 p.m. So if you are free on Wednesday, the 13th of December, drop me an email, and I will send you the link to join that session. So it will be an opportunity. I won't be spieling at you. It's an opportunity in a small group. I won't be taking in more than 9 people to be listened to share, to reflect, and to exercise this power of creating a space to think, or some time to think. So that is my free gift for you for being here today with me. I will be sharing next time about my Elevate program, which is my 6-month group coaching program. So if you like my approach, you like how I work, and feel that you would like some support over the next 6 months from January to June next year, in your career and life growth, I'll be sharing more about that in the next session. I wanted to create this free gift because I really want people to experience the way I work with people. If you're unsure at all, but equally you don't have to sign up to anything after. There's no obligation for accepting the free gift at all. So as we close, and that's to say what we'll be covering in the next 2 sessions. So as we close, first I want to thank you for creating space for yourself. I want to encourage you to breathe every day, to reflect every day, and to take that Wheel of Life exercise further. And to really walk in kindness and compassion. This is an exercise of noticing, and the more you notice, the more you uncover, the more you'll get to some clarity. And remember, your chimp brain will say, no, keep going, keep moving, or stay stuck. So make sure you just give yourself the permission to do some work after this, because that's really where I think the magic can happen for you.